Hey everyone. So first of all, I just want to apologize. And this isn't excuses or anything, like I should have stuck to my word, but I didn't. I originally said in my last video that I would do another one either Friday or Saturday. I think I actually said Saturday, but my plan and intention was to do one for you guys Friday. But I had clinical all day, and by the time I came home there were assignments that I needed to get done in order to do. So I didn't get around to it. And then Saturday, when I planned on doing it, I ended up having a family emergency. Had to take my uncle to the hospital. Anyhow, it just didn't get done. So I apologize. And it is Monday afternoon. I'm just getting home from class. So I'm making this video. Also be looking for one this weekend for sure with what we did in Skill Labs. This week in Skill Lab we are learning IV infusions and pumps and everything to do with IVs, injections. And I also have double clinical this week, so I have clinical on Thursday and Friday, which I'm kind of looking forward to. Hopefully it'll simulate what an actual working for as a nurse would be like. And I did get a suggested video to do one on study tips. I did do one video already on how I study or use class time and how I take notes and stuff as like a final exam prep, but all of those tips on that video that I already did apply to regular exams throughout the semester, even quizzes. So if you haven't seen that, I suggest you check that out. It's got a lot of really good tips and things on staying organized throughout the semester and things to do to help you in studying for exams. Not just finals, but like I said, you can apply it to exams you're taking throughout the semester. But I do have some other things I've learned and been able to use since then. So I will be doing another video with some study tips or suggestions that I have for studying, especially in regards to maybe the classes I'm taking now, Nursing 1, which is Med-Surg, and my mental health class. But one thing I did want to mention to you guys first was I was talking about my school books last vlog, and there's one book I forgot that highly suggest, and that is a nursing diagnosis handbook or a care plan book. This is the one I have. It's not the most current edition, but really my friend has a current edition and there's not a whole lot of difference in the editions. It's all a lot of the same information. We haven't found anything yet that's different like that. But it is the Nursing Diagnosis Handbook, an evidence-based guide to planning care by Evolve Learning System. This is the 9th edition. But basically it is your guide to making care plans, which if you haven't gotten into it yet in nursing school, you definitely will be. And for those of you who are in nursing school and are, Med-Surg or higher, even if you're in, fundamentals, we did this last semester too. I didn't have this book last semester, but this book is a lifesaver. It comes in handy. We're doing NPRs right now, which are basically care plans for your patient in your clinical setting. This book is definitely one I suggest you getting. It'll help you throughout nursing school. Basically you go to, let's see, I have one marked off. Let's not do that one. You go to the section. So this is, let me find a good one that I can talk to you about. I was doing care plans for school actually the other day, and that's what. Okay, so here's one. The care plan is social isolation. So here it talks about social isolation, and this is all based on the NANDA guidelines in specific. So it gives you the definition of what it is. So it's aloneness experienced by the individual and perceived as imposed by others and as a negative or threatening state. And then underneath it, it lists the defining characteristics for it. So it has objective data, subjective data, and then it goes on to list risk factors, suggested outcomes, knock outcomes. If depending on where you are in nursing school, you've learned about NIC and knock, nursing outcomes and nursing interventions with their activities and indicators. But it literally lists out for you the interventions and nursing outcomes that you want, and it even gives you rationale, scientific rationales, which for some classes, depending on who your teacher is or how it goes, they will require rationales. And it divides it into the different lifespan. So there's pediatric, geriatric. It's got patient teaching in here that's really helpful. If I can turn the page, here we go. Multicultural things to go back on. It has evidence-based nursing and evidence-based practice points within each one. So, like some of the things say, offer client a choice of activities and persons with whom to sit and socialize. Introductions to strangers may need to be repeated several times. And then the evidence-based nursing just says a recognized intervention for loneliness is to provide opportunities and assistance for making choices, setting goals, and making decisions. Cognitively impaired clients may require several repetitions. But it just basically, like, it has italicized, that last part I just said was italicized, and that would be like your rationale that you have to put on a care plan. So that's what you put there. So it has your interventions and your rationale for why you're doing that intervention. And then it goes into outcomes, and it has outcomes listed for that specific topic. So for this one, the outcomes say, they're bulleted. Client will specify time frame. You have to put in your own time frame. Because if you're in nursing school, you know that a goal, or some people use the acronym SMART, and that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And any outcome or goal that you have for a patient, it has to follow that criteria. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be something that's realistic and can be attained. Like, it's not out of their scope of accomplishing or doing, and it has to have a time. So basically, these outline the outcomes as client outcomes. Client will identify feelings of isolation. So in order to put that into the SMART characteristics, you would say something like, client will identify feelings of isolation by day 2. Basically, you're giving them a time frame by when you want them to be able to complete the goal, but it's a realistic time frame. So here's one that says the client will practice social and communication skills needed to interact with others by discharge. That's realistic. Saying something like that they will be able to practice social and communication skills needed to interact with others by day 2 and you're on day 1, that's not necessarily realistic because they might not be ready for that stage depending on where they are. So just putting time frames with your outcomes and goals is important in showing them that it's a SMART goal, which is what we're taught at least. And I'm going to stop there because then I get into the teaching, and that's why we go to school. But if that doesn't make sense to you, I apologize. What you need to know is I definitely would recommend getting this book. Not necessarily even this book, any book like care plan book. There's a difference between diagnosis handbook and care plan. The diagnosis has almost any diagnosis that your patient could have, and it goes into the interventions, outcomes, side effects. Well, not side effects, but parts of the diagnosis. Super helpful. You'll use this most likely in every class when you're making a care plan, or you have to come up with interventions or goals and stuff for your client. So this is definitely a book that I recommend getting, as it'll be very helpful. The other thing I wanted to talk about was my clinical last week. I was on the med-surg floor doing patient care and collecting data because I had an NPR due, which is basically gathering information about your client, and then you got to go and write a care plan and you put all their labs in there and all their tests and arterial blood gases, and you just put everything in it, and it's something our school uses to help us in thinking through disease processes and what medications they're on. You list all their medications. My patient was on 43, and a lot of those, they were PRNs that the doctor gave just so that he didn't get that 5 a.m. phone call that your patient's declining or having pain or whatever. They just PRN meds so that you don't call them, basically. So I'm only doing 23 of her meds. But, so a lot of it was collecting data. Something I want to suggest to you if you haven't started clinicals yet or you're nervous about them or something is making sure you're in communication with your nurse who you're under for the day. Making sure that they know where you are in school, what you've accomplished or not. We just had checkoffs on catheters, which was really funny, but we weren't allowed to do anything with them until that point. So they're like, okay, you can't do catheters, you can't do anything, you can just do vital signs and patient care. And while yes, that's true, as we're going through the quarter, you want them to know where you are so that they know what to kind of like delegate to you for your patients, or also so they know what you can and cannot do and aren't saying like, oh, can you go do this, and you have to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't, like I know you're busy, but I can't do that, I'm not checked off. So just keeping in contact with your nurse for that day. For our clinicals, they change every single day, although supposedly this week they're not going to change because she wants us to be able to really develop that schedule kind of thing that we're going to be getting when we're actually working. So just that's one thing I can say that's super important, is being in communication with your nurses, letting them know where you're at in school, letting them know what you struggle with, letting them know that maybe you want to see things. There's so many opportunities when you're in clinicals to see different things. The other day I watched a nurse give IVs because I knew we were coming up on IVs. I really didn't know anything about giving IVs, how to do anything. So I just asked to watch her give the patient his IV, and she was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. She was giving him a PICC line, which is like a central line for hooking up medications. So I was able to watch that. So now going into Skill Lab tomorrow, I have some idea of what happens. Although I don't have it all processed. I have to do my readings and watch my videos still. I have seen it. It's not completely random and like being thrown at me, here, do this kind of thing. But I highly suggest, the phrase that comes to mind is, don't be a wallflower. When you're in clinicals, use every opportunity you have. Use that. That is your experience. That is what you're going to learn things and how you're going to know how to do certain things. It's going to help you in Skill Lab. It's going to help you on exams thinking through different processes. It's going to help your nursing career seeing how different people do things. Because not everybody does them different, or not everyone does them the same. Everyone does things differently. As long as they're following codes and guidelines and sterile field and stuff like that. But don't be a wallflower. Get out there and watch different people do different things. If you hear that a nurse is going to do this, even if she's not your nurse and you don't have anything to do, ask and say, hey, do you mind if I come watch you? Do you think your patient will mind? 9 times out of 10, they're not going to mind. So take that as, like, clinical is a learning opportunity, and really what you're going to get out of clinical is what you put into it. If you don't try, or you don't make an effort, or you don't really, I don't know what else to say other than if you don't put what you want out of it, you're not going to get anything. You really have to just get in there and not be afraid and just jump in with both feet and be like, what do you need? This is what I can do. What do you need me to do? Seeing a nurse do something, ask him if you can go watch. that's one of the best ways to like really get in there and see things so that you're not just, first of all, wasting time at clinical. You're not bored out of your mind. You're not just standing there doing nothing. You're actually helping yourself later on down the road through nursing school, through your nursing career. And I promise it will help. But let's see. I'm sorry this is so discombobulated. I really was planning on doing this past weekend, but things beyond my nature, I couldn't get it done. I think that's really it, just talking about clinical. Not a lot happened last week at clinical because I was collecting my patient record information. But this week, I have Skill Lab where we're learning IVs on Tuesday. I have clinical on Thursday and Friday. And one of those days, I don't know which one yet, I won't know until I get there, but I know one of those days I'm doing a med pass, which means I'm actually giving my patient medication. So that'll be really fun. And I'm sure I'll have stories, so check back this weekend. Definitely by Saturday it'll be up, but check back this weekend for an updated video. And like I said, I'll make a study tips video, but if you have any questions, feel free to comment, like the video, tell me what you guys think. Again, I'm so sorry that this is all kind of not organized at all, but I wanted to keep my promise to you guys as close as I could, even though I didn't really keep it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope that it kind of helps you. I hope that you guys really take it seriously if you're not in clinicals yet, and you really just jump in with 2 feet and you get in there and get active and really see it as a learning experience and as an experience that's going to help grow you and help your career in the future in the long run. So I will see you guys in a couple days when I make the video. And I can't wait. It's going to be a really busy, really fun week. So I'll see you guys later.